of data that do need protection applied to them. And this is in contrast to, as Christina was mentioning earlier, some of the monolithic patterns that we saw with applications. With the more containerized approach to application development, we see these components being split out. And so, things like persistent volumes, whereas if you were deploying onto a physical machine or onto a virtual machine, often the virtual machine, would contain the persistent data. It would have those VMDKs, those virtual disks, attached directly to the VM and be a constituent part of the VM, really be tied to the lifecycle of the virtual machine. As well as that virtual machine, that physical system, really being where the application was deployed and configured, as well as the application binaries being installed as well. And so everything was all lumped together. What containerization and what we see with the orchestration of containers with Kubernetes is really these concerns being separated out, and in a very much a cloud-like model where persistent data is separate from the running processes. Persistent volumes are now attached and detached from those workloads, and so persistent volumes is one of the key areas of data that we need to look at protecting with Kubernetes. This is where the application data lives. And then other things that we need to look at protecting as well include things like the application configuration, how it's defined, the running configuration of the application. And this is really important for us to be able to understand, how the application is deployed and how it's protected, what it consists of, and being able to back up those associated resources. And so with protection of Kubernetes, we really need to look at all of these different aspects of protection in concert as part of a protection solution. So that's why Christina and I are really excited to introduce to you, what Rubrik is doing for data management on Kubernetes, and talk a little bit about our upcoming release and some of the capabilities that we'll be delivering to help you better manage and protect your Kubernetes environment. Let's get started and dive in. So to give you a quick overview, there were a few key things that we were really focused on when it came to Rubrik's Kubernetes protection. A couple of the key things that we really wanted to ensure we delivered. And these were based on some really in-depth conversations with some of our key customers who were really looking for us to bring some of those key capabilities, those key benefits of Rubrik into the Kubernetes space. So the first one of these, as we were talking with our customers, what they really emphasized was that they were really moving to Kubernetes, developing these new applications and replatforming applications, re-architecting them, really to get some of those benefits that Christina was talking about earlier. Improved agility, the ability to scale up, scale down, and really all of the orchestration goodness that comes with Kubernetes as part of that core platform. And when we have an application that's deployed onto such I would say elastic platform, something that scales down, really a solution that is job centric or is based on predefined schedules and things like that, isn't really a great fit. And this is, one of the things that we saw, a key benefit of Rubrik being that policy-driven approach that we've taken from day one with our SLA domains, the ability to specify those requirements for data protection and be able to apply them to your workloads. And we saw this being a great match for what we do with Kubernetes protection, because as the workloads scale and change, our dynamic policy-driven approach is really a great match for that. So this was really the foundation of what we are releasing in this upcoming release. The second thing, of course, was the ability to properly and consistently back up and restore the applications running on that Kubernetes environment. And this includes the ability to back up those applications, all of the associated resources with them, so that you're able to capture that consistent view of the application and be able to restore it back to the original location or somewhere else. But not just recovering the application, but one of the great benefits of Rubrik is the ability that we have to index that data and give you that global search capabilities and recovery options as well. So we're able to not just recover the application that you've protected within Kubernetes, but also individual persistent volumes or even specific files on those volumes as well. And then, of course, the full recovery of the application back to the original location or even to another cluster is a key part of the offering. And then for me, one of the things that was most important was to ensure that we brought those same capabilities around security to our Kubernetes protection. One of the things that we've really focused on from day one at Rubrik is that providing that secure platform, and particularly an immutable data platform. So as we bring the data from Kubernetes into the Rubrik control, we're able to do so on an immutable data management platform, where we're able to capture those point-in-time copies of the data and store them immutably, so that you retain access to them. They can't be corrupted or modified. So you always have that good point in time to be able to recover from, and ensure that you maintain availability of your data, despite what adversaries may throw at you. So, these were some of the really key things that we wanted to deliver in our upcoming release. The policy-driven approach, the full backup of the application, the persistent volume information, the configuration of the application, and the ability to recover individual files, folders, recover volumes, as well as recover entire applications, both back to the original location or to other Kubernetes clusters that you have configured within your environment. And then, of course, building this all on top of Rubrik's data management platform, giving all of those capabilities that our customers love around immutability and security, and bringing that to bear on this environment. So with that, let me dive into a little bit more detail and really show you what we're doing. So I'm going to go through a few demos for you now. And really, this is going to help understand how we go protect a Kubernetes application, how we perform the recoveries and so on, and give you a flavor for what we'll be delivering in our upcoming release. So first, I'll go through and show you how we go and protect applications. So the first thing that I'll note is that we're delivering our Kubernetes protection as part of our Polaris SaaS platform. So this comes with some really great benefits. One, we're able to bring this out as a SaaS offering, and so we're able to iterate and continue to improve this very rapidly. A second key benefit is that we have this global visibility of all of your applications, all of your Kubernetes clusters that you've connected to Polaris. And so here, this is our Kubernetes offering. We'll just go through here and we'll see this list. And what we're seeing now is all of the Kubernetes clusters that have been configured within the environment, the Polaris environment here. And I'm able to see all of these applications, all of these clusters, all of the counts of namespaces under them, as well as other information about where these clusters are located and how we're protecting them. And then as I go through, I'm able to assign SLA domains to these objects, whether I apply it to a cluster and have it inherited by all of the namespaces within the cluster, or being able to go down to an individual namespace and apply the SLA domain to a namespace, or even apply the SLA domain to a label and have that label then automatically provide protection to any namespaces that are associated with that label. So here we go through and click the Manage Protection, and then you'll see something that as a Rubrik user you'll be very familiar with, the ability to go and assign an SLA domain to the object that I'm protecting. So this is a policy-driven construct, and I'll go through and select the policy that I want to apply here. And then as I apply that policy, what will happen in the back end, that policy will be applied, and we'll begin protection of that workload in accordance with the SLA domain that you've applied. Now, one of the things that we can do to speed this process along, I'll just go and select this namespace that we've protected, and I can also do things like trigger an on-demand snapshot, for example, to go through and not just have backups that are proceeding according to our SLA domain schedule, but also trigger backups whenever I want to as well, based on the access that I have to this environment. And so really, as this goes through, once the backup is completed and we can track that within the system. I can come through and go and drill down into the namespace here, and I can see the calendar view that you'll be familiar with as well, and see the snapshot that we've just taken. So hopefully this shows you how we can very easily protect an application that's running on Kubernetes. We're able to apply an SLA domain directly to a namespace, or we can apply it to a cluster or to a label and have it be inherited by the associated namespaces. Okay, well, let's move on to the next demo. So we just talked about how we protect an application, and we've seen how we can do that on-demand snapshot, how we can then see that snapshot in the screen here. Now we'll talk about how we can recover the application itself. So what I'll do first, let's go and actually make a change to this application. Let's go delete some data. So let me go into my Kubernetes environment, and what I'll do, this application that we just protected has some persistent volume data. So this application, actually let's go and we'll open the application up. You can see it's a e-commerce application. We have some data. We have some various pieces that are being displayed here for sale. Different athletic wear and other equipment. And this is all backed by a MongoDB instance that's running on Kubernetes. And that portion of the application is backed by a persistent volume. So let's go find that persistent volume in Kubernetes, and we'll just go ahead and delete that. Okay, we can see that volume has been deleted. We can confirm that just by going back into the Kubernetes and listing out the resources and seeing that resource is no longer present, that persistent volume. So we've come in, there's been an issue, a volume's been lost. How do we go ahead and recover that? Well, as we go back to the Kubernetes environment, you'll recall that we had this ability to really drill down into the calendar view here. And you can see, we're looking at this namespace. We've got a bunch of information about the application that we've captured about this namespace, how much data it's using, the number of workloads, and so on. And then here within the calendar view, we have the snapshots that we've created. So let's go down and we'll drill in, and we'll see the list of snapshots that have been available. And here we can see, we've got this snapshot here that we did as an on-demand snapshot. Let's go ahead and see what we can do from a recovery perspective here. So first of all, we know the point in time that we want to recover to. And so, at this point, let's just, recover the application. Let's roll everything back. So we'll recover the entire namespace here. And this will help us to make sure that we recover the application back to this point in time that we had earlier. And we're going to recover in place, so we're going to recover back to the same cluster, to the same namespace that we protected. This is really enabling us to really roll back in place, including the persistent data. And so with that, we can see the cluster we're recovering to the namespace, and so we'll just go ahead and confirm this rollback here. And so as this recovery takes place, what we're able to do is really see this little pop-up here letting us know that the recovery is progressing. And now let's switch over to the Kubernetes environment. And within the Kubernetes console, we can see what's happening just by what's happening to the resources right now. And so now we can see that the application is fully recovered, the persistent volume, we can see that's now being made available again. So let's switch back over to the application and refresh the screen here. And we can see that, yes, the application is back and running again. All of those items that were available for sale are now restored back, and we're able to go ahead and make progress there. So hopefully this has given you a good sense of what we're delivering with our upcoming solution for data protection for Kubernetes. We have a lot of great things coming, including the ability to restore your entire application that are running on Kubernetes, the ability to restore your persistent volumes and your files, as well as the ability to restore not just in place, but also to other Kubernetes clusters as well. And just to reiterate the key things that I was mentioning earlier, this is all built on the core platform of Rubrik. And that includes Polaris, our SaaS platform, and so you have that global visibility across all of your Kubernetes environments worldwide. So the ability to have that visibility, to apply policies, apply protection, and perform recoveries from a single location across your entire estate. And it's also built on our immutable and secure platform as well. So you can be assured that as you're protecting your data with Rubrik, those point-in-time copies of the data are secured against compromise. And so you always have that ability to perform the restoration in the event of a data loss. You have those point in times you can restore and get back up and running as quickly as possible in restoring that key application data. So thank you so much for your attendance today, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Hi everyone. So this session we're covering, is your data safe from ransomware? It's a question we get a lot here at Rubrik, and I'm going to walk through a portion what I'm responsible for. Today, myself, I'm Jason Burrell. I'm an SE manager here at Rubrik, and I'm joined by Sudesh, who's a product manager for our RX team. I'm going to walk you through just identifying your sensitive data and how we keep it safe, and how we're using Sonar, one of our products here at Rubrik, to accomplish that. So if you can imagine where this sits, our product lives in Polaris. Polaris is our SaaS platform that we build products on. This allows us to build quickly and also, not have to have you upgrade. The beauty of SaaS is that we can come out with products, we can come out with them quickly, and you don't have to wait or worry about upgrades. So the first thing we came out with is GPS. The second thing we came out is Radar, so that's our cyber resiliency product, and Sonar, which is what I'm going to focus on today and how it's keeping you safe from ransomware. So as we know, risk management is a behemoth, and it's something that a lot of our customers are trying to tackle, get their arms around. There's no question there's more and more data, and with that there's increased risk. And despite all the layers that we build in security, obviously you have external products, and usually our general customer is going to have 30 or 40 security products running in their system. The chances that we see ransomware happening to really anyone, it's still possible. So, and with that, it comes increased productivity loss, in that case. And then on top of that, we've also heard from our customers that there's an additional regulatory things they have to deal with. So whether that's CCPA or GDPR recently, there's just a lot of extra compliance needs as well on top of handling risk. So it's quite a big problem. So our approach for this is pretty straightforward. We're going to scan the backup data we already have in our basket. So we're very fortunate to have backup data that we can mine for additional insights and provide more value to you. So the first case we typically cover is ransomware. It's obviously top of mind. It's a big part of our session here today is that people want to know, is there personal identifiable information exposed in a ransomware type attack? How would I identify that? So I'll walk you through how we deal with that. Also, the other thing is that recently we came out with this access control visibility. So when you think of getting ahead of a problem or securing your data, making sure it's safe, we can visualize now what sensitive data is in your environment and if it is exposed to everyone in your org. And what I mean by everyone is like domain users, authenticated users. And also we provide automated inventory. So this inventory is going to give you visibility from a compliance perspective of PCI, for example, or HIPAA compliance. So we'll give you that visibility, and it's automated. In fact, you set that up and then it's going to classify as data comes in. Third thing I'll talk about, I'll be able to demo for you, is this integrated view for IT ops and security. Because this is blending a couple different users that we have. The IT ops side of it has their view, and then security ops has usually their own tools. And our goal here at Rubrik is to enable everyone to use what they feel most comfortable with. So we've built this view into security ops, so you can see this, and I'll demo one tool that we integrate with part of this. So with that, I'll get to the live demo. So what I'm going to walk you through now is our Polaris SaaS platform. I'll start at the global dashboard we have, which brings a couple of our products together. If you can see here, Radar is detecting anomalies for me, and Sonar is doing data classification and also telling me about what's inside my data. So I'll drill into this and pop into our Sonar product. Now, right here, I can tell you, here's all my objects and what sensitive hits have, but I'll start before that and go through how we even set this up. So you click on management here, you click on configure policies. At this point, we have pre-built policies built in for you. Again, this is just to make it easier for everyone to get to their data quickly. So for example, if I cared about PII information down here in the corner, GLBA, maybe PCI data. Again, these are pre-built for you, which is really nice. And we'll look for things like credit card numbers, social security numbers, but you might have something custom. So you can build your own policies, which have a lot of different predefined analyzers. You might care about email address, you might care about phone number. Really, this is tailored to you. So you can also create your own analyzers And maybe you care about, let's say a student ID, and it has, starts with A and has 7 digits, so you can build a regular expression to go find things like that, or a dictionary value. And this is what's really cool. Over the past year or so that we've been deploying this tool out, we've seen a lot of different use cases for this. So one use case, a customer used it to find where people are storing clear text passwords. So they pasted in a couple hundred passwords in here that are common and scanned for that, and we're able to find that, yeah, sure enough, someone's keeping a password.txt file around. Or in the case of subject access requests. So some of the new regulations coming out, you have to find data around something or someone. If you had terabytes and terabytes of data, it'd be very hard to search that easily, especially with unstructured format like Word docs and PDFs. So being able to type something in here and have it crawl everything, and not only just crawl it, but do that without any production impact, it's pretty unique to us. I'll close that out here. So you choose what to search for, you hit next, and we can search for a number of object types. So vSphere VMs, NAS, Windows, Linux, and recently we came out and added AHV and Hyper-V to this list of object types. We'll continue to expand that, but it's pretty exciting that we can cover most of the data center's unstructured data. And again, by unstructured, I mean CSVs, Word, PDF, Excel, something that doesn't have an interface to query. So databases are pretty easy to query things, but if you had to query 10,000 documents, it'd be very difficult to find sensitive data. So I'll pick a couple here, maybe some Linux file sets and a vSphere VM, hit next, and I'm done. So the setup process is pretty basic. You choose what to search for, you hit next, where search in, hit next, and you're done. Now at this point, it'll kick off a process on the appliance. We'll scan through the latest, the full backup that we have, so your latest copy of production, and then every incremental copy that comes in, it's going to automatically scan this for sensitive data, whatever I defined as sensitive. It's also nice about this, it's more of a, your set it and forget it play. You don't have to worry about coming back in here. You really set this up to scan, and it'll just, no scheduling or anything. It just happens right after the backup's complete. Now from a dashboard perspective, I want to highlight a couple things that we've been building in this last year. So not only will we just surface sensitive hits and where all your data is in terms of things that you care about, but also we've added permissions into this. So down here in the corner, you see files with sensitive hits and open access. And by what open access means to us is that everyone group authenticated users and domain users. So very wide, well-known groups. I can dive into that. And I can see, sure enough, here's an area that I have a file with a hit and I have open access. We've deemed this as high risk because of that. I can drill into this system, and now I can look at all the sensitive data on it. And I can review that either on a folder basis. So I can say, what's in this file share? Okay, it's got a lot of HIPAA data. Okay, I'll click on that. Oh, what type of HIPAA data? It's got some NPI numbers and some social security numbers. Well, who has access to that? We can answer that question here, all in one place. So again, it's pretty easy. You can see I don't have to review all of these folders, and I just want to review where I have sensitive data, and then be able to look at who has access to this. And this side looks clean. There's an administrator that owns it. Users can create files, but they can't read it. That's okay. But what about that one sensitive file that seemed like it had open access? Maybe I'll go dig that one out. So this is a list of every single file. And I can drop down and say, show me every file that has a hit and it has open access. It looks like a credit report sitting out here. Lots of type of data, shockingly a credit card number in there. And if I look at the users who have access to it, you can see down here users have read and execute. So this might be something I want to lock down. I can also push this out in a CSV and say, just give me every, if I had a huge list of this, I could go and then run automation. So really handy in just quickly getting value out of a tool like this. If I have, again, petabytes of data or hundreds of terabytes, I can now narrow this down to where I would take action quickly and then take that action. So this is protecting you from ransomware, so if any account gets compromised, if we can lower what any account has access to, it's a lot, it's just less threat surface. But in the case of maybe something did happen and you had a security event on a server, there's a couple things you might want to know is what sensitive data was on there a month ago or maybe a week ago. And you can go back in time with this tool and see, all right, on the 14th, what sensitive data was there? All right, there's nothing on it. I'll just do a restore. Life is good. So sometimes it's proving there is sensitive data, and the other time it's proving there's not sensitive data. So two very distinct use cases, but they're valuable to know. And once you have that information, you're armed with that, you can make easier decisions. Past that, we have a reporting built in as well, so you can build your own reports and export those out. So we can push these out to CSVs or PDFs, so you can share this